If you are an Asian living in the US, whether you hold a green card, a visa, or just dreams of citizenship, you should be worried. That's not fear-mongering. It's a cold reading of the quiet moves being made under Donald Trump's immigration agenda. Behind the political theater, press conferences, and tweets lies something far more calculated. A silent blacklisting of certain countries, many of them in Asia. And if your country is on that list, you might find it harder to enter the US, bring your family over, or even stay. Visas are being denied. Travel is being blocked. People are being deported. And in 2025, with Trump once again influencing immigration policy, the walls are going up fast. From student crackdowns to outright travel bans, these are about 10 Asian countries Trump is actively pushing out of America. Some will surprise you. Some will infuriate you. But what are these 10 Asian countries which Trump doesn't want in America? In this video, let's find out. Number 10. China. At one time, China and the United States were economically interconnected in what many economists called a competitive partnership. Chinese students filled US universities. Chinese engineers powered Silicon Valley. Chinese investors pumped billions into US real estate and tech startups. But under Donald Trump's leadership, that dynamic took a hard U-turn. Trump didn't just approach China as a trade adversary. He reframed Chinese immigration as a national security risk. His administration began pushing the narrative that Chinese nationals were not just immigrants or students. They were potential spies. This claim wasn't baseless paranoia. It was part of a broader campaign to militarize immigration policy under the umbrella of economic nationalism. The immediate target was STEM students and researchers. In 2020, Trump signed a proclamation barring the entry of graduate-level Chinese students and researchers associated with Chinese military-civil fusion institutions. The ban targeted those in fields like artificial intelligence, robotics, aviation, and materials science, based on claims that their presence could lead to the theft of cutting-edge US innovations. According to Forbes, this contributed to a staggering 40% decline in Chinese student visas during Trump's presidency. Now, Trump is legislating to ban Chinese students, and the chill extended far beyond universities. Entrepreneurs, investors, and visiting scholars began facing rejections, background investigations, and severe delays. Property purchases by Chinese nationals dropped sharply due to enhanced scrutiny by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the US, particularly in areas near military or strategic infrastructure. Then came the TikTok ban, the Huawei restrictions, and the economic decoupling campaign. Suddenly, Chinese tech professionals in the US found themselves under surveillance, subject to job rejections, or quietly removed from sensitive roles. What had once been a robust pipeline of talent and investment from China was now viewed through a lens of suspicion. For Chinese nationals in America, the message was loud and clear. You are no longer just a visitor. You are a suspect. Number 9. Iran. Donald Trump didn't just pull the US out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. He launched a full-scale immigration shutdown targeting Iranians. While the headlines focused on sanctions and military posturing, the real human cost was borne by thousands of Iranian families, students, and professionals. Trump's expanded Muslim ban, formerly known as Presidential Proclamation 9645, explicitly included Iran and barred nearly all forms of immigration. This wasn't temporary. It became an institutionalized policy that remained in place throughout his presidency, affecting everyone from university students to elderly parents seeking reunification with their children. According to the Washington Post, even US-sponsored applicants, people already approved by embassies and consulates, faced over 50% rejection rates under the Trump administration. The effect was brutal. PhD candidates, engineers, and medical researchers were denied at the border or left waiting years for a visa that would never arrive. What's perhaps most painful is that the crackdown wasn't aimed at Iranian government officials or operatives. It overwhelmingly affected ordinary civilians, people with no political affiliations, no history of activism, and no links to Tehran's policies. Iranian-American families were fractured. Students had to abandon scholarships and return to unstable conditions. Tech professionals and physicians were pushed toward Canada, Europe, or Australia, taking their talent and tax dollars with them. The maximum pressure campaign Trump touted on stage translated to maximum suffering for Iranians abroad, many of whom had deep roots in the U.S., but now faced the possibility of expulsion, indefinite visa denials, and no chance of reuniting with family. And Trump has reimposed this again. Number 8. Pakistan. Pakistan's placement on Trump's de facto immigration blacklist shows how foreign policy paranoia bleeds into personal lives. Despite being a formal U.S. ally in the fight against insurgency, Pakistan was increasingly treated as a security liability under Trump. The administration's tone hardened after the 2017 decision to suspend military aid to Pakistan, accusing the country of harboring extremists and failing to support U.S. operations in Afghanistan. This geopolitical distrust quietly transformed into immigration policy. Pakistani nationals seeking visas, particularly students, tech workers, and business professionals, began facing unprecedented hurdles. Trump's Department of Homeland Security implemented extended vetting procedures, including mandatory social media disclosures, travel history reviews, and, in some cases, phone inspections at ports of entry. Data from USCIS 2025 shows a 45% decline in Pakistani student visa approvals, a devastating blow to U.S. universities that relied on foreign talent in STEM fields. Thousands of Pakistani students began diverting to Canada, the UK, and Australia, countries with more predictable immigration processes and less overt discrimination. And it didn't stop with students. Family reunification cases began slowing to a crawl. Work visa approvals plummeted, particularly in IT, healthcare, and hospitality, industries where Pakistani immigrants have long contributed. Even Pakistanis already in the U.S. legally faced longer green card wait times and frequent interview recalls, often for no stated reason. Though there's no formal travel ban on Pakistan, the stacking of indirect barriers, longer background checks, reduced consular staff in Islamabad, and opaque administrative denials amount to systemic exclusion. In Trump's America, Pakistan isn't banned, but it might as well be. Number 7. Afghanistan. When the U.S. military withdrew from Afghanistan and the Taliban roared back into power, a moral debt was left behind. For over 2 decades, thousands of Afghans had risked their lives working alongside American troops as interpreters, intelligence officers, journalists, humanitarian workers, and cultural advisors. These were the people who bridged the gap between the two nations. They weren't just allies, they were extensions of the U.S. mission. And for their service, the U.S. promised them protection. But under Trump's hardline immigration policy, that promise turned into a broken contract. The Special Immigrant Visa Program, designed specifically for Afghans who helped U.S. forces, was effectively frozen under Trump. Tens of thousands of applications sat untouched or were summarily rejected on obscure procedural grounds. At the height of the Taliban's resurgence, hundreds of Afghans were left in bureaucratic limbo, hiding in basements and moving from safe house to safe house, desperately hoping for U.S. approval that never came. Even those who managed to escape and reach third countries, like Qatar or Pakistan, faced crippling processing delays. Homeland Security documents show that Afghan visa applicants endure some of the longest wait times in the entire system, often exceeding 18 months. an eternity when your life is under threat. The situation was so dire that many Afghans burned their U.S. paperwork to avoid Taliban retaliation, effectively ending their only chance at safety. Trump justified these delays and denials on the grounds of security concerns. But these were the same Afghans vetted by U.S. military intelligence. Many had clearances higher than some American civilians. The truth was less about safety and more about optics. Trump wanted a zero-tolerance refugee policy, even if it meant abandoning the very people who had bled for American ideals. For those Afghans, the message from Trump's America wasn't just no. It was a cold, calculated betrayal. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. Number 6. Syria. Nowhere is Trump's immigration policy more visibly cruel than in its treatment of Syrians. War-torn, bombed out, and ravaged by a decade of civil war, Syria represents one of the worst humanitarian disasters in modern history. Entire families have been buried under rubble. Cities have been wiped off the map. Millions have fled to refugee camps. And for many, the hope of resettlement in America was their last lifeline. But under Trump, that hope was extinguished. Syrian refugee admissions were slashed by over 90% according to Human Rights Watch. The U.S., once a beacon for those fleeing tyranny and persecution, became a fortress of bureaucracy and indifference. Trump didn't just slow down the intake, he throttled family reunification programs, making it nearly impossible for Syrians already legally residing in the U.S. to bring over parents, spouses, or children. Visa interviews were postponed indefinitely. Cases were marked under review for years. Applicants, many already approved by international refugee agencies, were placed under enhanced vetting, a term that in practice meant denial without explanation. Even humanitarian workers trying to escort orphaned Syrian children to safety were stopped at the border. And it's not just refugees. Student visas, work permits, and even visitor visas for Syrians have become nearly impossible to obtain. In many cases, applicants are waiting 3 to 5 years, only to be told their files have expired or security checks failed. The irony is that most of these people have no connection to insurgency or political militancy. They are engineers, doctors, widows, and students. They aren't threats. They are the victims. But to Trump's administration, Syrians were swept into a larger narrative of fear and exclusion. Entire communities were erased from the immigration system, as if Syrians were simply not part of humanity's deserving class anymore. Under Trump, Syria's message was merciless. You are on your own, even if you are dying. Number 5. North Korea. North Korea has always lived at the intersection of diplomatic isolation and nuclear paranoia. But under Trump's renewed influence in 2025, it has become a complete immigration black hole. Trump isn't just keeping his 2017 travel ban intact. He is doubling down on it. As of this year, virtually every pathway to the U.S. for North Korean nationals has been shut off, including previously allowed humanitarian waivers. New internal directives leaked from the Department of Homeland Security show that even North Korean defectors with verified UN refugee status are being blocked or redirected to other nations, despite already having sponsorships in place. Humanitarian aid groups are outraged, citing a growing number of North Korean escapees stranded in third countries like Thailand and Laos, where they risk forced deportation back to Pyongyang. Trump's team justifies this by citing national security concerns, suggesting that defectors could be infiltrators or trained agents, despite no credible evidence. But it goes further. In 2025, Trump has reportedly pushed for an intelligence review to reassess all North Korean asylum claims issued since 2010, a move that, if implemented, could put hundreds of resettled refugees at risk of deportation. Even diplomatic engagement has been cut to the bone. Official delegations between the U.S. and North Korea are now practically non-existent, with visa requests from cultural, academic, or peace organizations being denied with no explanation. What we are seeing in 2025 is a hardening of a policy that was already extreme. The travel ban has transformed into a total, systemic erasure of North Korea from the U.S. immigration map. No entry, no exceptions, and now, not even asylum. Number 4. Myanmar. When Myanmar's military seized full control in 2021, sparking mass protests and civil conflict, the world's condemnation was swift. But under Trump's leadership resurgence in 2025, the U.S. response hasn't been humanitarian. It's been punitive. Trump's team has quietly expanded what began as a visa freeze during his first term into a de facto blacklist for almost all Myanmar nationals. According to new data from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, visa rejection rates for Myanmar citizens are now among the highest in Asia, with estimates suggesting a 70% rejection rate across all categories in the first quarter of 2025 alone. That includes not just refugees or asylum seekers, but students, tech workers, business owners, and family reunification applicants, all now deemed security risks under Trump's extended screening orders. What's changed in 2025 is the way policy is being enforced. Embassy officials in Yangon are reportedly operating with new vetting software that flags applicants based on geographic proximity to conflict zones. In effect, if you come from Rakhine, Mandalay, or certain parts of Yangon, your chances of getting a visa are close to zero, regardless of who you are or why you are applying. Meanwhile, for the Rohingya community, the victims of displacement, the door is more tightly shut than ever. Trump has refused to reinstate the refugee quotas previously carved out for ethnic minorities from Myanmar. That includes Rohingya, currently in Bangladesh's overcrowded camps, many of whom have family in the United States. Their hopes for reunification have been crushed once again by a system that treats them as political liabilities rather than human lives. In 2025, Trump isn't just turning away Myanmar's refugees. He is treating the entire nation as an untouchable population. Number 3. Indonesia. Indonesia's labeling as a high-risk visa overstay country wasn't just a temporary classification under Trump's first term. It became a permanent policy in 2025, with fresh restrictions now being implemented. Despite appeals from Jakarta and complaints from U.S. universities, the Trump-aligned immigration offices continue to treat Indonesian nationals as high-liability visitors. What's particularly worrying is the new 2025 pilot program launched by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which monitors high overstay countries using enhanced digital tracking. Indonesia is one of 5 Asian countries placed on the list. Under this system, any Indonesian national arriving in the U.S. on a temporary visa is now required to report physical check-ins every 30 days or risk visa revocation. No other U.S. allies have been subjected to such treatment. Number 2. Bangladesh. If there is one country where Trump's immigration policy has gone from silently hostile to openly punitive in 2025, it's Bangladesh. Already treated with suspicion, in his first term, Bangladeshis are now facing some of the strictest enforcement and highest rejection rates in South Asia, despite having long contributed to America's workforce and economy. In his 2025 return to presidency, Trump has turned Bangladesh into a testbed for what he calls extreme vetting 2.0. According to leaked internal memos from USCIS, Bangladeshi applicants are now automatically flagged for additional screening in categories ranging from student visas to H-1B work permits, even when they have passed background checks before. For those already inside the U.S., life has become precarious. In 2025, Trump has given ICE wider latitude to conduct compliance raids on employment sectors, with a high concentration of Bangladeshi workers, such as food services, ride-share driving, and small business staffing. These raids have led to dozens of deportations over technical violations, including clerical errors and expired permits, even if renewal applications were already filed. For ordinary Bangladeshis, 2025 has become a cruel year of revelation. The American door isn't just closed, it's bolted shut. And for thousands who once dreamed of studying, working, or reuniting with family in the U.S., that dream is now drifting further out of reach every day. Number 1. Philippines. There may be no relationship in Asia more historically entwined with the United States than that of the Philippines. A former U.S. colony, a military ally, and the source of one of the most vibrant immigrant communities in American history. Filipinos have long believed they had a permanent seat at the table. But in 2025, under Trump's new immigration overhaul, even that legacy has not spared them from being quietly pushed out. What began as a slow tightening during Trump's first term has, by 2025, become a calculated restriction campaign against Filipino migration. The once steady pipeline of family-based sponsorships, often seen as the lifeline of Filipino-American households, has now stalled almost entirely. USCIS internal data reveals that visa backlogs for Filipinos have grown by more than 300% since 2023, with some family petitions now projected to take 8 to 10 years for approval. Trump's administration has also issued new 2025 guidance to consular staff to reassess family reunification cases from countries with high overstay rates. The Philippines is on that list. As a result, many applicants with previously approved cases are now being told their files require additional administrative processing, an excuse for endless delays. Is your country on the list? What do you think about Trump secretly banning these Asian countries? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on how these Asian countries should fight back against Trump. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs, things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.